So, yeah, about our regular webinar, today is Navraj sir's turn. So, I request Navraj sir, you please carry on with your topic, and I welcome you all. Especially, I welcome our guest, Sir Mr. Sekhar Chandra Chettri, who is here. So, I now I'm giving this turn to Navraj sir. Navraj sir, you please carry on.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, first of all, good afternoon to our guest, Mr. Sekhar Chandra Chettri. Sir, thank you so much for
Hi.
being here with us today.
Hello, Navraj.
Sir,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your precious time. And sir, your presence is always motivative and supportive for us. Good afternoon to our respected chairman, sir,
All the
and
best.
all the
All the
respected
best, Navraj.
teachers. I would like to elaborate Mahatma Gandhi's views on philosophy of education. I would like to start with one of his profound and inspirational quote on Gandhiji on education, that education works for all-round growth of man right from beginning to end. Its ultimate aim is to turn human knowledge into his ability. It is not meant for his life and not only for earning his livelihood. However, he was born in India on 2nd October 1869. He was one of the profound fighters who sacrificed his life to the nation and has become the center of attention figure in our country. His perceptions, intentions, and opinions on any subject matter has got impetus globally, and education is certainly one of them. Gandhiji had a perception that education shall be life-oriented, not the degree-oriented. He thinks education means to nourish, to bring up, and to rise, which means educating a child in accordance with norms, ends, or aids. It also implies to lead out or to draw out. This means educating a child or drawing out what is ingrained in child, or to lead out of darkness into light. He thinks education means an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man body, mind, and spirit. Literacy is not the end of education, not even the beginning. It is one of the means whereby man and woman can be educated. Literacy in itself is no education. He thinks that the main aim of education is the development of human personality. He expanded fourfold personality in the individual, that is body, mind, heart, and spirit. True education stimulates the spiritual, intellectual, and physical strength of the individual. Mahatma Gandhi also talks about discipline, education in terms of discipline. He thinks that it is one of the most important parts and parcels of education. Without discipline, the sound education system is not possible. It is the quality that oneself can lead to the regulation of one's intellectual, moral, spiritual, and social behavior. Gandhi strongly holds that education is not the end in itself, but it is the most powerful weapon which creates all persons of genuine characters. There is degeneration of education when the qualities of truthfulness, firmness, tolerance are absent from it. His great emphasis on work culture to the student from the primary stage to the higher stage is to enable the students to start producing from the time he started his training. So, his primary information of basic education is head, heart, and hand rather than reading, writing, and arithmetic. So, we can draw a conclusion that his concept of education is not only the eradication of illiteracy, but learning by doing. He preaches the doctrine of simple living and high thinking. His educational philosophy are based on culture of peace, sincere work, dedication of the cause of the nation, social-minded, right feelings, economic advancement, physical improvement, and socio-cultural progress. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really nice and very nice topic. Whatever the points were there. So on top of that, I request Mr. Sekhar Chandra Chettri to please drop few words, sir.
Uh, Thank you, Noraz. It was a very good presentation. Um, Most of the things you have already covered, but a few things I'd like to highlight, especially in the light of the new education policy, which was approved by the Union Cabinet yesterday only. Uh, See, when we talk about Gandhi, we are talking about someone who is like an extremely uh, dedicated person, and whatever he has said uh, on education or on any other topic was largely derived from what he himself practiced. It was not something which he just wanted people to uh, follow. It was something which he actually did throughout his life. Uh, Now, you talked about his philosophy of lifelong learning, all-round development, learning by doing. Then, what is literacy? What is discipline? And all those things. Now, uh, if you look at the new education policy, which was announced yesterday, uh, some important paradigm shifts, which you will see in that policy compared to what we were following till now, is the introduction of vocational education from class 6. New education policy says that vocational education should be introduced from class 6 now. Earlier, it was there in 11 and 12. Then it was brought down to class 9, 10 level. Now, the new education policy says that vocational education should begin from class 6 onwards. Now, this is nothing but an extension of Gandhi's philosophy of learning by doing. There is a whole lot. If you see his book Nai Talim, in which he has closely related, education with work. It is actually a spiritual principle of Gandhi, which says that work and knowledge are not two separate things. That's why Gandhiji always believed in education, which is based on uh, doing by himself or herself. Now, what was Nai Talim? If you want me to elaborate a little bit, I would say uh, Nai Talim was actually uh, Gandhiji's way of, you know, uh, describing education which was most relevant for Indians during those times as well as today. Now, through Nai Talim, he wanted to actually overcome the distinction between learning and teaching, and also the distinction between knowledge and work. Now, what do you mean by that? The question arises. Now, he believed that uh, a child, along with what he learns from the textbook, should also be a skilled member of the society. And in order to uh, gain that skill, the child has to actually uh, learn making something or doing something right from his school days. And the question arises, who will like help the child to learn all those skills? The answer was the teacher. Now, what Gandhiji said was, uh, a child, as he is growing up, should also live to work with the teacher as well as with his or her family. Now, why he said this was because we all know that Gandhiji believed in Swadeshi. Swadeshi means everything which was homemade or which was made in India. That's why, in order to combat the industrial revolution which was going on in the westernized world, he felt that the only uh, reply or only solution which Indians could probably have was to make their own citizens skilled. That's why he gave this idea of Nai Talim. Uh, if you compare our country, India, today with China, you will find that India and China are almost equal in terms of the size of population. But China is the second largest economy of the world, but we are the seventh largest. We were fifth largest till a few years back. Now we have slipped two places down, and now we are the seventh largest economy. If you ask me what is the reason, the answer is very simple. In China, almost every individual is skilled in one field or the other because they have a very robust kind of vocational education system. Whereas in India, vocational education is almost totally absent. That is why the whole emphasis is only on acquiring bookish knowledge. Therefore, what happens is everybody becomes graduate or postgraduate or doctorate, but after completing the studies, they will find it very difficult to find jobs, and employment is on the rise. Whereas in China, it is not like that. Uh, Everyone is skilled, therefore, the cost of labor is the lowest in China. That is why every multinational company is very keen to open their factories in China. So, if you look closely at Gandhi's philosophy, this is what actually he meant by Nai Talim, to make every Indian skilled. And what was the role of the teacher here? Gandhiji said that as teachers, when we are teaching the children, we should also learn from them. We should be very friendly with them. He gave his own example. He said that whenever I talk with people, I learn something from them. Similarly, when a teacher is teaching a child, not only the child who should be learning from the teacher, but teacher should also be learning something from the child. So this was his basic philosophy of Nai Talim. Also, during those days, casteism and untouchability was a big vice in the society. That is why he thought that if vocationalization of if education happens, if vocational subjects are introduced early in school, who do low, I mean, lowly kind of jobs. For example, people who work with leather or all those kinds of people who were neglected by the society will also get some recognition because these things will also come in the school curriculum, and that is how he felt that a kind of uh, equality can be brought in the society. Now, the second important thing which he said was the importance of mother tongue. Gandhiji always felt that at least basic education should always be imparted in mother tongue. Now, if you read the new education policy, which was launched just yesterday, approved just yesterday, you will find that the new education policy has categorically stated that in the elementary level, the medium of instruction should be mother tongue. The child should be taught in mother tongue. Now, why he said this was because he felt that if a child is not taught in mother tongue, then the child will face difficulties. Difficulties in the sense all the children coming from all sorts of families may not be able to understand what has been instructed in a language which is not the mother tongue of the child. That is why Gandhiji was a huge proponent of imparting education in mother tongue. Now, these were the two important things which have still found place in the new education policy of the country. Now, he talked about, Nauraj just talked about literacy. If you want to, if you want me to elaborate what Gandhiji meant by literacy, now Gandhiji said that literacy is neither the beginning of education nor the end of education, but literacy should be considered as a means for lifelong education. That means if someone is literate, then that will enable him or her to go for lifelong learning. That is what Gandhiji believed. Now, you also talked about all-round development. Now, uh, now this particular philosophy of Gandhi compels us to believe that Gandhiji was an idealistic, he was a naturalistic, as well as a pragmatist. Because you cannot go for all-round development if all uh, the departments of the body, you can say, if all the departments of the body are not fully developed. That is why Gandhiji's views on education were a totalitarian kind of view. Now, another important thing which you mentioned was discipline. Now, one of the most important thing which Gandhiji stressed upon was self-control. Discipline does not mean to beat the child or to give the child punishment or something like that. But Gandhiji believed that a disciplined person is someone who can exercise self-control. Because if you look at the present, you know, age, every household is struggling with children who do not have self-control on the use of, especially on the use of mobiles. If they catch hold of a mobile phone, the child will forget everything else, and he or she will be so engrossed in mobiles that it has become a big headache for parents. Now, this has largely happened because our education system has not been able to teach children how to exercise self-control. Let us forget about children, even we adults uh, find it very, very difficult to exercise this principle of self-control. So, by discipline, Gandhiji, I think, mainly meant, what he meant was self-control. So, these are some of the things which I found very interesting and I wanted to share. I think that's all. Thank you so much, Navraj, for a very good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you so much, St. Thomas family, once again. Thank you so much, Beam. I know you are a very good team. Please gel up well, even more. These philosophies will help you further in understanding each other and hence in forming a very compact, robust team which will be able to overcome all kinds of obstacles in the days to come. I know these are difficult times for all of us, especially for private schools. Uh, I can understand the financial implications and other psychological implications which might be affecting you. But despite that, you are organizing these kind of intellectual programs, suggest that you are on a different pedestal. So please keep it up. My best wishes are always with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you.
request Anjumesh, there is no Subhasa today, so you can conclude our webinar.
Okay, thank you, sir, for sharing your important points. Okay, on behalf of the St. Thomas School, I would like to thank to our guest, Mr. Sekhar Chandra Chettri, for being with us. We really appreciate you to taking out time for us from your busy schedule. And thank you very much, sir, for sharing your a different philosophy of a different country and highlighting the important points on the new education that we got yesterday and the many more things we are learning. So it's always been our pleasure to have you with us, and we look forward to see you again in coming days. So thank you, sir, for sharing a lots of knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. So you please continue. I'm signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.